All right, welcome back to the PCC podcast. And today I have an episode and a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and that is very important to the mission that we have here at Permanent Change Coaching for you, the listener. And that topic is hard truths about permanent change. Hard truths about permanent change. So what is that? It is the things that we either don't even realize that we have to accept, or the things that we must accept that we resist when it comes to making a permanent change in our life, a permanent lifestyle change. The reason why these things are difficult is because they go deeper and they are longer spanning than the way that we typically view dieting. And this will really distinguish what is the difference between a quick fix and a lifestyle change. And that's really what we're going to dive into today. So I have 9 hard truths to share with you. I'm going to do my best to be concise with every single one, but really nail my point in. And I have my notepad here that looks very, very messy in how I brainstormed all of this. So these are all things, by the way, that I personally have kind of had realizations over and over and over again. And I think you really learn all 9 of these things in different ways in different seasons of your life, and they continue to set themselves in as you keep going on this journey. And it's never something that you just get to and you arrive and you're there and it's done. It's something that you have to constantly remind yourself. And all of these reminders about permanent change when it comes to making a lifestyle transformation that lasts is that you have to stay an active participant in this journey forever. And that, yes, automaticity is possible with habits and just making things an easier part of your life. We always say, I want this to just be something like brushing my teeth. And there will be times in your life where it does feel like that, where it does feel like health and fitness and certain behaviors are like brushing your teeth. But the reality is staying healthy is an active process, just as getting healthy is. And it's just a little bit different. And we'll kind of distinguish that in these hard truths. So maybe that was hard truth 0 of you have to stay an active participant in this forever. And that kind of goes into number 9, which is also one of my favorites. And also I saved it for last because I think it's the most important and the cornerstone of all of this. So you're going to have to listen all the way through if you want to hear the most important hard truth. So let's go through these. Number 1, the first hard truth about making a permanent change in your health and your fitness is that your eating habits are going to have to change forever. And you might hear me say that and you might be like, well, duh, right? But let's break into exactly what that means and exactly what that looks like. That then makes us uncomfortable. So when we are in social settings, when we're in potluck settings, holidays, other things, how often do we go back for seconds is going to be something that we change. The proportion of how we actually plate our plates, when we go and we order things or we look for things or we fill our plate, the proportion of vegetables to carbs to protein is going to change. And in fact, the biggest thing that might change with our eating habits is that we're always prioritizing vegetables and protein versus just having a big plate of carbs. It just becomes a thing. This is a common example is when you're in college, you might make butter noodles or ramen or something that is just literally carbs and fat. And when you make this lifestyle change, that no longer looks or feels like a complete meal to you. You look at that and you're like, where's the protein? Where's the fiber? This does not satisfy me physically or psychologically because it does not have those things. And that can be something that we really have to work on getting to. But once you get there, that perception changes forever. And that is something that you want to continue working on, is being active in the fact that you're always looking for those things. And I think with that, just the overall prioritization of protein in your eating habits is not something that you only do when you are dieting. It's not something that you only do when you're trying to lose weight. We talk about eat protein to lose weight. But the reason why people can't keep weight off is because they actually just go back to those old habits when the diet is over. When in reality, if you were to just keep ordering that lean protein with your meal wherever you go, or if you were to keep adding vegetables to every meal once you were done with the diet, that's how you're going to keep the weight off. That's how you're going to stay satiated. These are the lifestyle changes of your dietary habits. So there's a lot in there, right? And we'll kind of break down other types of hard truths that revolve around nutrition and eating, because it's a big part of it. We all have to eat. So that is something that we will have to change forever. That's number one. Number two is that we have to make ourselves exercise when we don't feel like it, when we're unmotivated, when we're tired, not for 3 months, but forever. And you might hear this and be like, duh. But when you're really in it, you often think, okay, well, let me just get myself to do this workout because I paid for this app, or I paid for this program or coaching, or because I'm in a challenge, or I'm working on getting healthy right now. So let me make myself work out right now. But the key to permanent success is what happens when that is no longer the label of the phase of life that you're in. Once you've gotten to the goal weight, once you've achieved the target, do you still tell yourself, well, I'm going to get up and work out now because what? Because what? There's no reason, unless you have really integrated this into, well, this is now a value of mine to move my body. This is important to me. I like the way that this feels. And we find that the people that are successful with a lasting lifestyle change is their motivations go from extrinsic, outside of themselves, of I want to change the way that I look. I'm doing this to lose weight. I'm doing this for this reason, to I'm doing this because this is me. This is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I value. And that I just want to. And we want to have that want for movement, for exercise. However, even when we get to the point where we have more intrinsic motivation, I'll tell you right now, I've been doing this for a decade, and there are probably more than 50% of the days that I go to the gym that I don't want to at all, that I don't want to whatsoever, that I would rather sit on the couch, that I would rather do nothing. And the turnaround for me is quicker to get myself up and going because it's a habit, because it's a lifestyle, but I still have those feelings. And so it's making yourself stay consistent and move your body, not because you always want to. That is a false belief that will change forever and you'll just all of a sudden always want to work out. What the reality is that you're going to just get better at doing it when you're unmotivated, not just for 3 months, but forever. And so then number 3, this one's interesting. So number 3, the most, one of the permanent change hard truths that I think is a hard hitter, because this one ties into your relationship with money. Yeah, this is weird. Okay. And it's not what you think either. So number 3 is changing your definition of what making a meal worth it means to you. Now, let me get into this, because I have some examples of myself and people close to me that this has hit hard for. So maybe you've had a period of your life where you were less financially stable or affluent than you are right now. Think college. Think when you first got out of college. Think when you were working 2 jobs and living paycheck to paycheck, whatever it is. If that is a part of your past, then you will probably remember a time, especially if I know that my husband had this very strongly in his past. So maybe also if you're a dude and you just have to eat a lot of calories, that you're looking for the most bang for your buck in terms of portion size, calories per dollar. My husband will tell me all the time that he's still trying to break these habits of like doing the math of like dollars per ounce, dollars per calorie when we go out to eat, because he had wired his brain to think that that is what making a meal worth it means, that I need to get the most food for my dollar in order to make it worth it. And then on the flip side of that, after you've paid for that meal, we think, well, I paid for this meal challenging the sunk cost fallacy that if I paid for it, that I must eat all of it. And it creates this pressure for us to clean our plates when we go out to eat, to finish everything that we're served, even when we're not hungry, and even when it pushes us to the point of feeling stuffed. Why do we do that? It's actually less because of our eating habits, and a lot of because of our social pressures that we put on ourselves because of money, because of economics, because of things that applied to us in the past that maybe don't apply to us now. Because I talk to women in their 30s and their 40s who now have kids and have a stable career and have a double income household, and they're still acting this way. They're still behaving this way. And yes, it's a privilege. Of course, it's a privilege to be able to not finish everything on your plate. And it's a privilege to be able to make that choice. But if you have it and you're actively trying to work on weight loss, and you're actively trying to change your health forever, then I would encourage you to challenge, what does making a meal worth it mean to you? I used to grow up going to buffets, and it was like $10 to have an all-you-can-eat buffet, right? And I thought that worth it meant you had to have 3, 4, 5 plates, because I was getting so much money's worth, right? I was making the whole restaurant go bankrupt, right? Because I was eating more than the average person could. And that is no longer something to really put pride towards when you are actively trying to do the opposite. And so changing your definition to now, making a meal worth it means that you are stopping when you're full. You're cutting your meal into parts and you're taking the rest home, or you're not finishing your plate, because worth it to you now means that you're finishing when you're satisfied, not when you're stuffed, or when you've had enough, or when you've had what you've allotted for. And that is what worth it means to you, even if it means leaving some food on the table. And that's really hard for a lot of people to grasp, especially if you grew up and you were not able to live that way. And sometimes you feel guilt over letting that go, but you just have to accept the reality of your present. If that is not where you are right now, and food is in excess, and you do not have to worry about pinching pennies from meal to meal, then I would encourage you to really capitalize on that and make meals worth it for a different reason, because it's actually holding you back from controlling your portions when you're out to eat and making any progress. And then this one kind of goes along that train of thought. I hope that one challenged you in a really interesting way. But number 4 is permanently changing your food rituals and traditions. So permanent hard truth, number 4, or permanent fat loss, hard truth, number 4, is permanently changing food rituals and traditions. And this is one that is really difficult. And this is also going to vary depending on person to person, because you will be able to, when you lose weight and you are working on keeping it off, you can define what the parameters of the things that you will not give up for life are, but there will need to be some give. Being healthy and being fit permanently in an environment like the one that we live in right now, that is obesogenic, that has food in excess, there are a plethora of calories, and without regulation or some level of restriction, we will gain weight. That is just the environment that we live in. And so accepting that fact, staying healthy forever means that we are going to have to make sacrifices and say no to things, and have the things that we want less for the things that we want later, more often than not. But you can have all the things that you want, just not all at the same time. And so when it comes to changing your food rituals and traditions, this kind of goes into same idea, if you regularly go to all you can eat restaurants, eating till you're sick. But I will even kind of backtrack, and I will say, if you are part of a family unit, if you are a mother, if you are a wife, you have a say in the types of restaurants and food traditions that you and your family create. And if anything, if you are a female counterpart in the family, you arguably have more say in a lot of traditional family structures. You will be more in charge of the food in the kitchen, and or at least your opinion is heard and valid in the food and in the kitchen. That's not the case for everyone, and maybe there are family structures where the man takes over more of that. That's okay too. But if you're in a partnership, you have a say either way, right? Even if you're cooking things or not. And so whether that is date night traditions, or how often you and your family go out to eat over the weekend, or if you are younger and you go out on the weekends, like out to clubs, to bars, how much you drink is up to you. What types of restaurants you choose to go to. So do you even choose to go to the all-you-can-eat place, or do you choose to go to the a la carte place? And those are difficult changes to make. Again, just accepting where you are right now. Are you in a position where you have to go for the best bang for your buck because you literally can't get enough calories in your day? Otherwise, you would be really putting your budget in the wrong area. I would argue to say that most of the people listening to this podcast are not in that position. And so, and if you are, just don't listen to this part of the advice. But if you are in that position where, you have date night every other week, or you go out to eat multiple times over the course of a weekend, you have a say. And this is where stepping into your power and your control and what is within the realm of your control is key here. Because if you have traditions, and they could be formal traditions, they could be very informal traditions. So I'll give you an example. A formal tradition is something like anytime there's a holiday, or anytime for example, we would go home to my husband's family, so my now in-laws. Whenever we'd visit them, there were certain places that we'd always go to eat with the family, which are all-you-can-eat sushi places, Korean barbecue, those sorts of things, where there is just a plethora of food. And a change that we actually made, because we realized every time we asked our family where they wanted to eat, they really didn't have an opinion. And we were just going to these places because they were places that they'd always gone, and they kind of always, it was safe, that they knew that they would enjoy, and they knew it was a good bang for their buck. And so we just started kind of taking control over, like, hey, let's go here instead. Like, let's go to Texas Roadhouse, where I can order a sirloin and veggies and a sweet potato. Or let's go to this restaurant that's new and let's try something different, where we can order something, but also like not have this all you can eat stimulus in front of us. So we took some control over that. Or informal routines are like, how often do you eat out on the weekends? Like, do you make it a tradition to, like, you basically just eat out for lunch and dinner on Saturday and Sunday, and then you feel like crap by the time Monday comes around? Take control over that. Like, my husband and I made a rule that we're going to only eat out one time per weekend day instead of twice or three times. Because there was a period in our life where it was twice or three times, and we were having a lot of trouble keeping our waistline. And so this also requires, though, conversations with those people involved in your life. And at the end of the day, you have to take ownership over, if this is the change that I want to make, what are the conversations that I not only need to have, but want to have? Because I'd be willing to bet that even though some of these food traditions are fun and they're enjoyable, think about the ones that you always feel regret after, or that you really just don't enjoy the experience because of what the experience does to you with your goals, or how it detracts from your goals, or just how you feel after the meal. And so it takes some self-reflection for you to look at these situations and say, which ones do I want to change, and who do I need to talk to in order to do that? But just having a very cordial discussion with, like, hey, these are some values of mine that I have, that I've been working on. I really want to make these situations more conducive to our health and my goals. Where do we think that we can, where do we think that we can give a little bit here? Or where do we think that we can adjust things? Put the ball in that person's court, and it will absolutely be a productive conversation. If anything, your partner, if they support you, they'll probably want it too. The number of women that I talk to that say, yeah, I'm interested in this program, and also my husband wants to get healthy as well, it's like 90% of them. So it's really common. So eating habits, food rituals, traditions, big one. So now let's get to number 5, which is more food stuff, but meal prep. Meal prep is something that we talk about, of like, I want to lose weight. I don't have to meal prep for hours on a Sunday. And I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to meal prep for hours on a Sunday. But I do believe that meal prep is not just something that we do when we are trying to lose weight. And I think we let go of the habit as soon as we get to where we want to go. But we need preparation. And this is under the same strain of thought about our environment and our world today, is that it is littered with food and the options are endless, and food is so convenient, and highly processed, highly palatable, high calorie food is so convenient. And so it's going to be really, really easy to overeat if we don't make the convenient thing also the thing that we have serving us towards our goals. That requires preparation. And I do believe that there is a certain amount of discipline and preparation that should be permanent, that we should have restraint on ourselves and our food for the rest of our life in order to stay healthy forever, not in a way that is destructive or restrictive in a sense that it actually harms us psychologically, but in a way where that discipline gives us freedom. The discipline that we exercise most of the time allows us to not worry about the meals that are off plan on the weekend or celebratory. So it's finding that balance. And so the next permanent change here, number 5, is that you have to develop a meal prep routine that you could actually replicate for the rest of your life. So for us, that is bulk prep. And this has become really popularized through just more fitness coaches sharing what has worked for them. And fitness coaches are obviously people that have made fitness work for them for longer, right? Because they've made it their career. And so bulk prep is not Tupperware by Tupperware, measuring everything out and plugging it all in and getting a super headache over it, but just let's grill a bunch of steaks from Costco and let's cut it up and use it as we go throughout the week. Let's put a bunch of chicken in the crock pot and let's use it throughout the week. Let's make a bunch of veggies, big bag of veggies at the beginning of the week, and use it up to Wednesday or Thursday until we're out. And we basically just do that, and we mix up the seasonings and the flavorings week by week. And that's it. But it gives you a ton of options, and you don't have to think about your food throughout the week. And it really does free up a lot of headspace. And those basic skills of just knowing some simple crock pot recipes, knowing how to grill, knowing how to bake some veggies, knowing how to use the air fryer are skills that you need to build for your permanent success. So then let's go to number 6. Again, towards the end here. And this is where they start to vary and are a little bit more not just nutrition focused. So number 6 is engineering your environment. And so I'm a firm believer that if you want to make a permanent, lasting change in your health, and you're in an environment that's just not conducive to you doing anything that's going to help you reach your goals, you're going to be fighting your environment constantly. And so I believe that it is worthwhile to put some time, some energy, and some money into your environment to make it easier for you to stick with your goals. So some examples of this are home gym equipment. All you really need that I think most people should have is a set of adjustable dumbbells. That alone, you can train your entire body and get a lot done with that. That plus an adjustable bench is a huge bonus. You could do so much with that. But you can also invest in more, of course. But a walking pad and standing desk combination. Yeah, it's a little bit of a ticket up front. You might spend anywhere from $300-$400 for the set of those two things up to $1,000-$1,500, depending on how nice you want to go. But you spend at least 40 hours a week in your office, in your workspace. So you might as well invest in it and get your steps out of the way during the day. It is so nice to finish my workday and be like, oh my God, I'm at 9,000 steps. I need to do absolutely nothing. It's great. And then kitchen appliances like your air fryer, your crock pot, your instant pot, your things that make your Ninja Creamy, your things that make eating healthy at home easy and convenient and enjoyable and simple. If we're waiting to pull the trigger on the thing because it's I don't know how often I'm going to use it. Well, you got to make yourself use it, and it's going to benefit you in the long run. So investing in your environment so that that stuff is readily available, that it's easy for you to use. And then it makes things like walking, healthy food, and just a healthy lifestyle easy and accessible for you. And it doesn't need to be super costly, but I do have a whole podcast episode on ways you can invest in yourself that isn't coaching, that are all of those environmental tools. Now, number 7, this one is kind of a fun one, and I do still wear an Apple Watch to this day. However, sometimes I forget to put it on. Sometimes it dies on me. Sometimes I can't get it to actually count my steps. And so this one is the permanent change number 7, that 10K steps per day, or whatever your step goal is forever. It's not just a 2-week challenge. It's not just when you're trying to close your rings, and it's not just when you're trying to lose fat. When you finish losing the weight, you need to stay active. And the biggest thing with this is that most people really struggle to step back from the gamified like step goal of like, ooh, let me hit this number, to look at like, how is this actually changing my behavior? How is this forcing me to get up and move first thing in the morning, go take a quick walk? Is this changing my behavior around, do I take a quick walk after I eat meals? Is this changing my behavior in the sense that I walk back and forth in the gym between sets, and that's how I get some steps in? Whatever you do to get your steps in when you are dieting or when you're intentional about it, those behaviors need to stick whether or not you wear the smartwatch. And that's hard to grasp because it is a lifestyle change to be a body in motion at all times, but it is something that must be permanent. And you can continue to gamify it and find ways to make it fun to hit a step goal. But the principle is that the behavior of movement, parking farther away, taking the stairs, we often are very quick to put out these efforts when we want to lose weight. But when that desire is gone, we're not motivated, or we've just reached our goal, this is why we backslide. We don't actually look at, how is this a part of my life now? Now, number 8, this one is maybe a little harsh, but it's just an important reminder that there are no breaks from living in your body. So the secret to a permanent lifestyle change, the hard truth that you need to hear, is that you can't take a break. There is no break. And you shouldn't feel the need to take a break. So if you feel the need to say, I need a break from all of this, this is too much, it's making my head hurt, I can't, then you are doing the most. You are doing too much. And that is not a sustainable lifestyle. The habits that we're talking about here should be at an intensity that you can actually fathom doing forever. Like if you were to ask me, Marissa, are you going to walk for 20 minutes and eat these high protein meals every day for the rest of your life and hydrate with your Stanley Cup? I'd say, yeah, I would actually. Like that seems pretty easy to me. And I'm not over here spinning my head around it. And even to this point, to this day, tracking macros is actually something that I could see myself doing for decades, because it's that easy for me, because I've integrated it. Now, I don't think that's the case for most people, and I don't think most people need to track. But what I'm getting at is that you shouldn't feel like you always just need a break, because there is no stop and go. You can stop being intentional about these behaviors, but you don't stop living in your body. You don't stop either reaping the benefits or reaping the consequences of what you're doing to take care of your body. And so to make a permanent change, find the habits that you can actually feel good about sustaining. Sounds simple. It is simple, but it's harder when we have that all or nothing thinking, where we want to go hard in the paint and do it all the time, especially when we really want to lose weight. We want to go fast. We want to go hard. I promise you, that is how you set yourself up for failure, because eventually you're going to want that break. And then that break is going to totally derail things. So don't get to the point where you feel like you need a break. And then number 8 is, that was number 8, wasn't it? It was. Okay, so number 9, the last one. So this one is a permanent change, hard truth that really is the cornerstone of it all. And that is the fact that you have to change not just your habits and your behaviors, but your identity. You have to let go of the person that you were when you were overweight, when you had these bad habits. You have to let go of the person that you were when you were the fat kid. Or let me see my examples here. These are all real life people I know examples, or myself. When you were the fat kid, when you were the one that always finished their plate, when you were the one who could drink everyone else under the table, when you were the one who would always order 2 entrees or out eat everyone, those things have to go. And I would actually identify back in the day in high school, I had a reputation for being able to put down a lot of food on all the volleyball teams that I was on. What no one saw was that the reason I could put down so much food was because I had a binge and restrict cycle that I was living with. And it was incredibly unhealthy. But I liked that reputation. I was like, yeah, I can stay skinny and put down all this food. But they just didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. But you have to let go of that. And a lot of times we carry these identities with us and we think, I'm always going to be the fat kid. I'm always going to be fighting being the fat kid, because we believe that holding on to that identity of being the overweight person protects us, either because we are always fighting it. So we're always like, I never can go back. I am that person still. And so if I slip backwards, then I need to get right back on it. I need to be really strict because I'm going to fall back and become that person. Or it's a safety blanket for if we were to fail. If we were to go back to being that person, well, that's okay, because I never challenged that in the first place. That is who I am. And we're staying safe in that identity. But in order to make a permanent change, we have to start believing and acting as if, and then we transform into the person that is different than who we are today, the person that values exercise, the person that, and here's where things get dicey that people don't like to hear, is you become the healthy one. You become the person where people are like, oh, you're just having chicken and rice, or you're not drinking tonight, or all of those kind of things that make other people uncomfortable. And you have to own that identity, and it becomes you. And it should be hopefully something you become proud of, because it's something that makes you feel good, and you're living unapologetically as yourself and the person that abides by your values and not the values of others. And the truth of the matter is that identity change will make others uncomfortable, and they will poke fun and they will make comments, and it's solely out of their own discomfort, and it is nothing against you, even if it can come across as really mean. Most of the time, your friends, your family, it'll be a little like fun jabs, and then eventually they'll kind of get the gist of it and latch on. But it will take time, and it will take resistance. And most people are more uncomfortable by the fact that they've made others uncomfortable, that they will retreat back to their old behaviors to make others comfortable, instead of just owning it and staying strong in it. And one of the best examples of this that I'm so proud of is my husband, who was the one who would eat 5 plates of sushi at all you can eat sushi, and could eat everyone under the table, and was just that guy who could put food down. And my dad, his parents, our friends, everyone had this reputation in their mind that he was this person that could just eat and eat and eat. And it took like 5 years for him to shed that identity to where now no one questions his decisions with food when he just orders a light entree and just eats it and doesn't ask for more. Like, it is truly a transformation that took years to settle into people's minds of like, oh, you're not that guy anymore. Okay, got it. And it did make people uncomfortable. And it's not fun if you're not sure of yourself through it. And most people aren't sure of themselves through it until they get to a place where they feel much more confident. But if you can push through that resistance of battling that identity within yourself and staying strong in it in the face of pressure from others, then that is going to be true success in the long run, true permanent change. So that is number 9. That is my favorite. And I hope that these hard truths hit for you. I want to know which one really hit the nail on the head for you. Go ahead and send me a message on Instagram. That's the easiest place to reach me, at Marissa Roy Fitness. I'd love to hear back. I'd love to hear your feedback. And I cannot wait to have you back here next week for our next episode.